Today we're going to be doing a beginner's combat guide for Godfall, going over the combat mechanics and the types of enemies and how to defeat them and which types of weapons are the best against which types of enemies. So let's get into it. First off, let's briefly go over the combat mechanics of Godfall. There are 4 of them. The first one is the breach bar. The breach bar is that whenever you keep hitting an enemy, their breach bar will increase, and once it's all the way up, you'll be able to initiate a takedown, which does a lot of damage at once. And then we have weak points. And weak points are basically whenever an enemy attacks you, you'll have a 1 to 3 second window where you'll be able to attack them and do extra damage. To know when a weak point appeared, you'll just see a red dot on an enemy. That's when you can actually do the extra damage, and in some cases you'll be able to even make them go flying away. And then after that we have Soul Shatter. That one's my personal favorite. Whenever an enemy's health is white, you do a heavy attack, they'll explode into little pieces. But if the health is not fully white, like half of it is white or something, if you do a heavy attack, you'll delete that half of the health. They will only explode if the whole health is white. And then last but not least, we have the polarity attacks. Those are very simple and the weakest type of mechanic in my opinion. So when you have 2 weapons in Godfall, if you keep using one of the weapons, the other weapon will keep charging up. And once it's all the way full, if you change the weapons, you'll do a sudden AoE attack. And that's pretty much it. Now let's talk about the enemy types and the optimal way to defeat them and the best weapons against them. So in Godfall there is 4 general enemy types. General, not the species. Generally there's 4 enemy types. The first one is the weak enemies, which either can be one-shotted with 1 attack or 3 to 4 shots. But the important thing is that they cannot attack while you're attacking, so you can basically button mash them or something like that. The best weapon against them would be the Warhammer, since the Warhammer can do AoE damage, so 1 or 3 to 4 hits could kill all of them around you at once, which is really helpful and it saves a lot of time. You can also use the greatsword because you can do a tornado attack against them or the spinning attack against them, which would kill almost all of them. The best combat mechanic against those weak enemies would be the polarity attacks, since they are the only ones that do AoE damage. The rest are only good against 1v1s. The second enemy type is the middle class. They're kinda in the middle. So they can attack you while you're attacking them, so you gotta be careful with those. And generally you're going to be fighting 2 to 3 of them at once. And the thing about them is that they also have unblockable attacks. You have to make sure you don't block the red attacks or you're gonna take all the damage. Basically once they glow red, just dodge. The best weapon against them would also be the Warhammer and the greatsword, since you can hit all 3 of them at once. But you can also use the longsword. It's good with the longsword, but the best are the Warhammer and the greatsword, because you can hit multiple of them at once. Now the best combat mechanic against them is going to be Soul Shatter, because after you do a couple of attacks you'll be able to basically one-shot the rest half of their health, which is extremely helpful against all of them, because sometimes you'll get overwhelmed when all 3 of them are attacking you at once. So you gotta step back, hit them slowly, and then do a Soul Shatter attack to finish them off one by one. Now the third enemy type and the fourth one are the mini bosses and the normal bosses. They also have unblockable attacks and can hit you while you're hitting them, and sometimes they can summon middle and weak enemies to fight with them. So you gotta be careful of those, because they're going to be hitting you from behind while you're fighting the huge monster at once. Now I suggest playing with a polearm, a dual blade, or a longsword against those, because you need really fast reaction times. Because there's a hidden mechanic. Well, it's not really hidden, it's something that you figure out as you play the game. You cannot block right away after you hit. You have to wait 1 to 2 seconds before you block again or dodge. So after you attack a couple of times, you need a second before you can dodge or block. So that's why you need the fast weapons, like the polearms, the dual blades, and the longsword. Now fighting those, I generally suggest that you step back for a couple of times, try to figure out their attack patterns, and then go in. Don't just go in blindly or you're just gonna die. These are the most basic things you need to understand to be successful in Godfall. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and click on the bell for more guides, tutorials, and gameplay in the future. And I will be doing live streams of the game when I can, so be sure to come and hang out. It'll be fun. Yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.